Welcome to Ghostly, the podcast that puts the paranormal on trial.
Every 2 weeks, I unearth a chilling ghost story, track down the legends, the eyewitness accounts, and the history behind a haunting.
And I, your friendly neighborhood skeptic, get to tag along to poke holes in her theories. My job is to find the logical explanations, the creaky floorboards behind the ghostly footsteps.
In the end, it's not up to us. It's up to you, our listener, to weigh the evidence.
Yeah, you get to decide, is it a genuine haunting?
Or all entirely senseless talk.
So before we summon the spirits today, make sure to hit that subscribe or follow button wherever you're listening. It's the best way to make sure that you never miss a new spooky tale.
As always, we are your hosts.
I'm Pat.
And I'm Rebecca. Now let's turn down the lights and see what's waiting for us in the shadows.
Ooh.
Are Maple Hill Cemetery and the Dead Children's Playground in Huntsville, Alabama haunted?
I think that's our longest question we've ever had.
Really, there's just two things that go right together.
I might summarize that in the poll. It might just be Maple Hill Cemetery.
That's okay. The playground is like
is right there.
There, yeah.
Which is very, very interesting. But we're going to get into all of that. This episode was inspired by our most recent book club pick. We do this book club. Rebecca talked about it a little bit in the aftermath last time. We do it every 3 or 4 months, and we all get together. We pick which book we're going to read. It's ultimately Rebecca's decision, though, but it is based on what recommendations that people have. And somebody suggested the Dead Children's Playground. Wasn't it Tim that did?
I thought it was Jessica, but I could be wrong.
It was one of the two. I know that. It's by James Kaine. It's the first book in his American horror series. And if you haven't read it yet, don't worry. We're not going to spoil it or anything like that. We might talk about some of the characters. We are going to talk about some of the characters. And we're going to talk about some of their attributes, maybe. That's about as far as we're going to go. But this could be like an introduction, a reason to pick up the book. We don't receive any money from any of the book sales of it, although we will put a code in
our
the
Amazon
show notes.
Link, yeah.
That we get pennies, like like if you buy it, we might get like a half a cent or something like that from it. But you could buy it any which way you want. This is just a story that we've been reading. The story centers on two sisters, and from their very first page, Kaine makes clear that this is as much about family as it is about fear.
Yes. And this particular book is part of his American Horrors series, where he's kind of going around the country and talking about haunted places. Yeah. And in this case, specifically haunted children. So ghost children.
And this is the first of that series too.
Yes. For some reason I thought it was the second one, but it's not. It's the first.
So yeah, he's originally from Jersey. So eventually he's going to go to Jersey. I think this is like South Carolina or something like that. I don't remember exactly. Or no, Huntsville, Alabama.
Yeah, we're in Alabama for this one.
Yeah, Alabama. He's going to go to Jersey next. And anyways, he usually does stuff about like werewolves and stuff like that.
Yes, so ghosts are a new topic.
Yeah.
But
and we've never read any of his other books. We have no contact with this man. He does not know we're doing this episode. No. We've never emailed him or anyone associated with him.
But I think both of us were surprised reading the book. And you start to think like, wow, this seems very grounded and like a real thing.
Yes.
And it was like, oh, and at the end you find out, like this is based on some actual legends. Yeah. So we're like, oh, well, okay, we got to do an episode now.
Yeah. And most of our books for book club are fiction based. And we thought up until the very end, there's a little spot at the end where he talks about his inspiration. And it was like, whoa, actually, this is something that could be an episode. So we thought we'd do this.
Yeah.
But do you have a ghost story?
I do have a ghost story.
Ooh.
It's time for a spooky tale from Rebecca.
I wasn't trying to go ghost hunting, I swear. My cousin was in town from Birmingham, and she'd been begging me all weekend to take her to, quote, that haunted playground. I'd lived in Huntsville my whole life, and I'd never actually been. I always thought the whole thing was a little tacky, honestly. A cemetery playground? Come on. But it was a warm October night, and she had that look on her face. So we went. It sits at the edge of Maple Hill Cemetery, tucked down into an old limestone quarry, surrounded on 3 sides by headstones. The moon was almost full. No one else was there. Just the swings, the slide, and that soft, ringing sound metal chains make when the wind moves them. Except there wasn't any wind. My cousin dared me to sit on the middle swing. I rolled my eyes, walked over, and sat down. I didn't swing. I just sat there with my feet on the ground, laughing at how silly this was. That's when the swing next to me started moving. Not a little sway, a real back and forth, like a kid was building up momentum. I looked at my cousin. Her face had gone completely white, and she was pointing, not at the swing, but at the sand underneath it. Little puffs of dust were kicking up, like footprints, like someone had just jumped off. I stood up too fast. The chain on my swing was still warm, even though the night air was cool. And right as we turned to leave, I heard it, plain as my own voice, a little girl giggling somewhere behind us. "Push me," she said. We didn't look back. We ran to the car. My cousin has never asked to go back, and I have never offered. I used to say I didn't believe in ghosts. I don't say that anymore.
All right. So how much of this is based on reality and not the book?
This is all based on real stories for the most part. I mean, maybe it went a little much at the end there. I like to, sometimes we like to bring in.
You like to embellish.
Sometimes, but the swinging, the swings, that's one of the main real stories.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think some of this is in the book too, but nope, those are some real stories.
Well, I can't wait to get into the debate. But right now, it's time for the Pat Facts.
Pat Facts.
Pat's Facts. From a skeptic point of view. Pat's Facts. He presents it all to you. Pat's Facts. Facts.
So before Maple Hill had a name, before there was iron fences and marble headstones, there was a spring. A cold, deep spring bubbling up from the limestone of northern Alabama.
I thought you were like, there was a spring, like a time of year.
Yeah. It's not the vernal equinox.
Gotcha.
There. Yeah.
Okay.
And in 1804, a man named John Hunt found it and decided to stay. He built a cabin nearby, and word spread the way that it does when a place feels right. Within a few years, others arrived, drawn by the fertile land of Tennessee River Valley and the promise of a fresh start. Among those arrivals was Leroy Pope, a wealthy Virginia planter with big ambitions and even bigger sense of ownership. Pope and his investment partners bought up enormous tracts of land in Madison County in 1809. He laid out a proper town and, with no small amount of self-regard, named it Twickenham, after Alexander Pope's English estate. Yeah.
I wasn't ready for him to be related to Alexander Pope. Okay.
The residents weren't terribly fond of that name. In 1981, the Alabama legislature quietly renamed it Huntsville, in honor of the humble hunter who'd gotten there first, before anyone else.
I mean, after the Native Americans, but first of the Americans. Yes.
Absolutely.
But that's so interesting. Yeah, I did not know that Huntsville was originally named Twickenham.
Yeah.
how British.
Yeah, absolutely. Leroy Pope never quite got over the renaming of this city. But he stayed. He built a grand mansion. He put down roots, and eventually 2 acres of his land became the ground where Huntsville would bury its dead. Leroy Pope was a man of power and influence, the kind of man who names towns after himself and expects the name to stick.
Yeah.
But it didn't. The first recorded burial at what would become Maple Hill was in 1820. A tiny headstone marking the grave of Mary Frances Atwood, an infant daughter of William and Martha Carolina Atwood. She was barely old enough to have a name when she died. The city officials purchased those 2 acres from Pope in 1822, and the cemetery was born, though the ground had already started its long work of keeping the dead.
Ooh. So maybe this had been a place, well, you'll tell us about it, but so somebody was buried there a couple years before they actually bought it and made it official.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
And I'm guessing we'll learn.
Yeah.
More here.
So over the next 100 years, Maple Hill grew the way that old Southern cemeteries grow. Slowly at first, then with a terrible urgency. There's a lot of stuff that happened in the South, a lot of stuff that happened in America during this time, so it's going to grow. 5 Alabama governors were buried here.
Wow.
5 U.S. senators, 10 members of Congress. The bones of power are thick in this soil.
Ooh, I like that phrase.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's crazy. Okay. I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Albert Russell Erskine, once the president of Studebaker Motors, a man who built his life on the American dream of speed and industry, was buried here after his death in 1933. So was Priscilla Holmes Drake, a woman suffragist who spent her life arguing that half the population deserved a voice. And Don Mincher, a hometown baseball hero who played for 5 major league teams, found his final rest here too. So it's got a lot of history there. But it wasn't just the famous who made this ground heavy. It was the wars. When the Civil War came to Alabama, it came hard. Huntsville changed hands multiple times, and Maple Hill absorbed the cost. 187 Confederate soldiers were buried in the northern section of the cemetery, most of them not killed in glorious battles, but dead from disease and accidents during training camps near the city. Young men who never even saw the front line, now lying in unmarked rows. An unknown number of Union soldiers shared this same ground, enemies in life, neighbors in death.
Wow.
During the Civil War, Maple Hill Cemetery became the burial site of 187 Union Confederate soldiers. Most died early in the war, not from bullets, but from the illness in the camps near Huntsville. So nothing in Maple Hill's long history hits quite as hard as the autumn of 1918. The Spanish flu arrived in Huntsville on September 25th of that year, and it did not come quietly. Within weeks, the city was overwhelmed. By October, the Birmingham News was reporting a desperate situation. Nearly every doctor and pharmacist in town was sick themselves, and more than 1,000 new cases were being logged in a single week. Madison County lost over 400 souls before it was even over.
Wow.
Many of them were children, too. So, like, we take COVID where we had the children were not as affected at the time. This was the opposite. Children were more affected during the Spanish flu.
They were less able to handle it. Yeah. Well, and it's interesting. So, I mean, we're not giving away plot stuff necessarily from the book, but just thinking about in the book, the way that they talk about the cemetery, this was something that they talked about a little bit, the flu, but all this other stuff with like the famous people and maybe some of the Civil War thing they kind of mentioned, but it made it sound more like a local cemetery. Whereas like, this is like, no, this is huge. There's many important people buried there. And then on top of that, you have this horrible tragedy.
Yeah. Do you remember the rhyme from the book?
Oh, gosh.
I had a friend named Enza, and when the windows were open, influenza.
Yeah. Oh, so creepy.
Yeah. I don't do it justice, though. And it's probably not the exact words,
I think we both listened to the audio book, that you kind of hear that. Sorry, I don't know. We should be careful. We don't want to give away too much.
That's not giving away.
But it's just a little
much.
thing.
It's just the setting of the book. That's all. So they were buried in the lower section of Maple Hill, tucked close to the limestone bluff. I keep saying limestone. And that definitely says something. It says residual ghost.
I mean,
That's what we usually find.
Chicago, we always talk about the limestone, right? That's what brings the ghosts.
So the limestone bluff at the back edge of the cemetery, there were small headstones, some were plain, some with lamb carved into the top, the Lamb of God, kind of thing.
Okay.
The old symbol for a child gone too soon. If you walk that section today, the dates cluster together in a terrible little pattern. September 1918, October 1918, November 1918, and over again. Years later, the city built a playground besides the very spot.
It's so weird. It's so weird.
But I love it, though, right? It's a symbol for, that the kids can play,
I guess. I don't. Anyways.
Yeah. But I mean, who of the living is going to go there?
I mean, it's like, well, we want the children to be able to go and play next to their dead old classmates.
Yeah. Have you seen pictures of this place?
I mean, a few, yeah.
It's not the most prettiest,
it's classic cemetery
cemetery playground.
Sorry, classic old playground.
Yeah, it is, definitely.
Nothing fancy. This is not like today's where you got
the rocket ship or something.
No.
So nobody seems to remember exactly when the locals started calling it the Dead Children's Playground, but the name stuck and the stories followed close behind. It might not have even been because of ghosts at that time. It could have just been that's why they built it.
Yeah.
For the dead children. People say that swings move by themselves when the wind is still, that after dark, if you stand quietly in the shadows of the old limestone wall, you can hear something that sounds almost like laughter. I'm sure Rebecca's going to talk about all of these things. And I just wanted to talk about the book club a little bit. So it did inspire this, and we are going to talk about some of the characters, and we will talk about some of their traits. So we have Kylie. Kylie's 9 years old, and she's been through a lot in her life, right? So she is one of the main protagonists of the story. Mm-hmm. Her and her sister, Kayla. And to me, the names are way too close. It was really hard for an audiobook, because they sound very similar, Kylie and Kayla. Kayla is 19 years old, though, and she is the angsty teenager girl thing. But she's not like a bad person. She's angry for, probably good reasons for a teenager to be angry.
Yeah. It reminds me a little bit of My Sister's Keeper or something like that. I forget, there was a book, but yeah, I mean, there's the setup of it, and all that we're talking about right now is all like in the first chapter.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all just the setup of this family, and there's a lot of interesting dynamics between all of them and how they've gone through some trauma together, and unfortunately, they're about to go through some more. Yeah.
And things get crazy. But I also want to talk about some other characters that are further into the book. We're not going to get into specifics. Mm-hmm. What was her name? Eunice? Was that her name? Or
Eustace?
Something like that. Yeah. One of those two. She was a old hoodoo priestess. Practitioner. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what hoodoo is. So if you read, the book, you'll be grounded in that.
I think we've touched on this slightly with New Orleans, but it's been a while. So I think it's good to revisit.
So the words hoodoo and voodoo get tangled together all the time. In movies, in Halloween costumes, in casual conversations. But they're two distinct traditions, each with deep roots and a history that deserves to be understood on its own terms. So why don't you tell us about voodoo?
Sure. So voodoo, more properly called voodoo?
Yeah.
With a U.
Voodoo.
Began with the Fawn and Yu principles of what is now Benin and Ghana in West Africa. So yeah, it is from Africa. Yeah. Voodoo is, right? It's a religion, and they'll say it's not magic, right? Like I think that's what we think of with voodoo, right?
Yeah.
It has a pantheon of spirits called Lao, and each with their own personalities, domain, way of interacting with the living world. There are Lao spirits of love, death, crossroads, healing. Practitioners build relationships with these spirits through prayer, ritual, music, and offerings. When the transatlantic slave trade tore millions of Africans from their homes and carried them across the ocean, they brought their faith with them. In Haiti, where the brutality of French colonial slavery was among some of the most worst in the world, voodoo became something more than religion. It became resistance. The Haitian Revolution of 1791, the only successful slave rebellion in history, was launched in part because of a voodoo ceremony. The faith survived because it had to, and it survived by adapting, blending with the Catholicism that slaveholders tried to impose, using the image of Catholic saints as covers for the Lao, so that what looked like an acceptable prayer was actually something deeper and older. I actually I just watched a video about voodoo dolls.
Yeah.
And basically that was just that was a way to track medical information. It was a medical chart.
Yeah.
So,
you'd put a pin on where you were having the pain.
Exactly. Well, so you as the practitioner, this is the doctor, quote unquote, right? So someone would come to you, and of course you weren't either taught to write or allowed to write or whatever it was. And so if the person said, well, my stomach hurts, then you'd mark that their doll.
Yeah.
So then the next time they come in, you can be like, oh, hey, how did that herb remedy that I gave you, how does it help with your stomach? And then you can go, you know what I mean? So it's like a way of tracking.
How does that heroin work for you? Yeah, we thought it would be especially good for you. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if they were doing that, but
they did do that.
Okay. Well, anyways, I just thought that was super interesting to hear. We often think, it's in movies that's portrayed as such a negative thing. So I thought that was kind of
So now
cool.
we're going to talk about hoodoo, which is different. Voodoo is a religion. Hoodoo is a practice. All right. So there's a fundamental difference there. It's a system of folk magic rooted in the everyday lives of African Americans in the southern United States. It is practical. It draws on herbs, roots, candles, prayer, and what practitioners call working spells and rituals designed to solve real-world problems: love, troubles, financial hardship, protection from enemies, health, those kind of things. Hoodoo grew from the same African spiritual tradition that gave birth to voodoo, but it is mixed differently on American soil, blending West African herbalism and spiritual practice with Native American plant knowledge and elements of European folk magic. In Louisiana especially, hoodoo absorbed heavy Catholic influence. So whereas in voodoo it was more pretend, in hoodoo it was more the reality.
Okay, gotcha.
The same saint might be prayed to for two completely different reasons, depending upon whether you were in a church pew or at a crossroads at midnight. For enslaved people, hoodoo was more than tradition. It was power in a world that stripped them of nearly everything else. It was a way to protect a family, to resist an overseer, to heal a child when no doctor would come. It carried memory across generation when memory was all that could be carried. Today, both traditions are still practiced and still very much alive. They have also been misrepresented, feared, and sensationalized for centuries, often by people who never took the time to understand what they were looking at. What we're looking at, when we look closely, is a story of survival, of people holding on to something sacred when the world was trying to take everything. So, yeah, I think that's true with a lot of religions that we're like, ooh, I don't know about this religion. Like we openly talked about Satanism and how it's not necessarily what you think it is. This is the same kind of thing. It's not necessarily what you think it is. It's a little bit more. And, for them, when a Christian prays, that is the same kind of thing as what they do when they're doing spell work a lot of times.
Yeah.
So it's just something to think about, just because someone says that they practice hoodoo or voodoo does not mean that they're a bad person necessarily.
Yeah. I mean, definitely the movies often, portray things.
It's not just movie. It's it's counter religions that oftentimes will label them bad, and just whoever wins out in the population game that gets to dictate who was bad and who was good. So, I mean, it is what it is. If you fear it, that's fine, but just don't judge them necessarily because they are that. Know that they could be good people and still celebrating those religions. So.
Yeah. Now, just to be clear, this was a little bit of a detour,
Yeah.
right? Like the hoodoo and the voodoo are not a part of the real life, quote unquote, Maple Hill Dead Children's Cemetery. This is part of the book.
It's part of the
fiction book.
Yeah.
So it's not like he decided to kind of bring this element in. And there's other elements too. But I wish I had known this.
Yeah.
I think before I read the book.
Yeah,
that would have
exactly.
been helpful.
Yeah.
Especially with the hoodoo part. Because I was just thinking of it like voodoo. And so, yeah. So anyway, so thank you for putting this in here for those that want to read the book. I think this is a little helpful, like, education lesson.
Well,
before you get in there.
When I was in my witchy phase of life, I oftentimes would go to a hoodoo store that's in Bridgeport near Chicago, or in Chicago. It is called Saint Augustine's. I don't know if it's still around, but there was a hoodoo practitioner there, and he knew who I was, and he knew I wasn't hoodoo, but they would have the same supplies that I would need, and oftentimes were able to give me advice on what to do for certain things. And I bought like a mojo bag off of them. So I had my mojo working. So anyways, it's something.
It's something. Yeah. Well, anyway, so very cool. But yeah, this is such an interesting place that you have a cemetery with a rich history and then a playground.
Yeah.
With a lot of ghost stories.
All right. Well, we're going to take a short break, and when we return, we're going to get into the debate. All right, Rebecca, it's time for a debate. What do you and we are not debating the book.
No.
The book is an awesome book, but it's all fiction. So
yeah, no, this is nothing that I'm bringing up. I mean, if you read the book, you might be like, oh, that's similar to like something he brought in the book, but no, it's not. What I'm bringing up is this is what people really say they see.
Yeah.
At this playground and at the cemetery. So there's I know I always say this, but there's a lot with this one. So we're going to start again at the Dead Children's Playground part. And Pat already kind of mentioned it, and I had it in my story. The most commonly told story is about the self-swinging swings.
The self-swinging swings.
Self-swinging swings.
That is hard to say.
Self-swinging swings. This is the signature haunting of Huntsville. I mean, there's a lot of hauntings in Huntsville, but this is the big one. As we have talked about, the playground sits right next to the quarry, limestone, which we know is a conductor for spirits, and of course, the graveyard. And locals and visitors have been reporting for decades that the swings move in perfect rhythmic sync, even on completely windless nights, as if invisible children are playing on them. The most reported hours are between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m., of course. And witnesses also describe puffs of dust or sand rising up from the ground underneath the swings, like a child just hopped off. And people will connect it to the children that died during the flu that are buried there. Yeah. Now, I do have some specific instances that I found online of people telling the same story, basically. Okay. So in 2023, I found a comment on the Alabama Haunted House's website that said, my grown daughter and I visited the playground on Monday, July 23rd at approximately 2 to 2:30 p.m. So not as late as some of these others. It was about 95 degrees and absolutely still. We were drawn to the rocks behind the playground by chipmunks. We were watching the chipmunks play and scramble on the rocks. For some reason, we both turned back to face the swings. The 3 sit-down swings were all swinging, with the one in the middle moving the highest. Again, it was completely calm. The other set of swings were perfectly still. This was during broad daylight. We both felt some type of presence there. Who knows, but something happens there. Another story, 2020, quote, I went there and whenever me and my friend was walking down the stairs, we felt something at us. Once we got a bit closer, we could see 2 of the swings moving. That day we went, it was a sunny, humid day, but there was no wind. Another one in 2020, last one for, I could have gone on, but we'll stay with these 3.
Yeah.
My friends and I lived close by and would always go down there to hang out. When we would swing, we would always leave the second swing on the right-hand side open because it would swing with us and continue long after we were done, which is crazy if that's true.
Yeah. Well, think of how spooky this would be.
Yeah.
And also too, I mean, like that last story, I kind of like that they didn't let that stop them, that they kept playing in there and
yeah,
stuff. And
right.
it's like, okay,
it's like,
well,
well,
well, if it is, then they get to play too, I guess.
I guess, yeah.
Okay, but now I need to ruin the fun, like I always do.
Or you could just say, you know what, Rebecca?
Totally
There's
true.
So
Totally
much
true,
evidence that I can't say anything against it.
All right. So everything that, we've talked about, it does exist. The flu of 1918 killed lots of children, especially in October. That killed like 300 people. It was the deadliest year of burials in the cemetery's history. So it was a very moving time. So the swings moving because of paranormal activities, the one thing that we cannot verify. There's been no controlled or documented study that's been done for this particular thing.
The scientists haven't been there.
Maybe they have, but they have not been able to prove anything. So let me talk about something. So this is by a rock bluff, a limestone rock bluff. All right. So with those rock bluffs, though, they're particularly susceptible to localized channeled winds, so microclimate.
Microclimate.
I'm going to use a microclimate for this one. But let me talk at you, okay? The limestone alcove surrounding this playground acts as a natural funnel, directing air movement that may not be perceivable by anyone even standing right next to it or nearby, but it is strong enough to set a hanging swing in motion that the swing, it wouldn't take as much to push that as it does to push a person. I mean, do we both agree on that, though? That
sure.
There could be less wind that pushes that than a person. So it's a well-understood aerodynamic effect. But let me also say this. We do have a bit of confirmation bias here, and we've talked about confirmation bias before. Visitors arrive expecting to see movement. Research in perceptual psychology consistently shows that people in a state of heightened expectation are more likely to interpret ambiguous stimuli. A swing barely shifting, a chain catching a light. Just they consider that meaningful then. And it's not a flaw in character, it's just how human perception works under conditions of anticipation and low light stress. It is how we survived. So I'm not saying that these people are wrong or stupid for feeling that. I'm saying that is human nature, that we do that. But that I think it can all be explained by science.
I think you are stretching, my friend. There's just one little breath of wind that no one, even right next to it, can feel. And it's making the swing go in perfect synchronicity where it someone is swinging. I can't. And also I purposely picked some sightings that, especially that first one,
that talk about no wind,
but also they weren't there ghost hunting.
Yeah.
They were just there to play in the park, and then we're like, whoa.
Oh, but that's not where the confirmation bias necessarily happens. It could be that they heard a tale, and that's not the reason why they're there. They're there because it's in their neighborhood. But they've heard talk about that.
Well,
so.
They don't talk about that.
Okay.
But all right. Well, what's your rating then?
I'm gonna have to go 0 on this one because I believe that there is a scientific explanation for it.
Interesting. I'm giving this one an 8.
An 8.
Look,
Whoa.
in fact, no.
What? A 24?
I'm going 9.
9.
Yeah.
Wow.
I am going high because you know what? I don't always do that. And this one, a cursory look at just a few websites about this site, and there's like, this doesn't always happen where it's like, well, here's a story, here's a story, here's a story, like recent stories.
Yeah.
So I'm going with it.
And all attributed to people too. I mean, even though you didn't mention names, I'm sure that there are people that put their names to these stories too.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that. I understand that. And I'm not saying that they're lying. I don't think that. I think that they're telling the truth. It's just their perception of what's actually happening can be explained by science. It's just not something that happens on a regular basis where you know that to be science. Weird things can be verified by science, like the weird thing when in the summer when you take like a Coke bottle and fill it up with water or something like that, and then you throw it and it becomes dust before it even touches the ground, right? Because it freezes in winter. I don't know.
Oh, in winter. Yeah. Or yes.
It's that cold that it can freeze before it touches. That is weird. And if you didn't know that was science, you would say that's a ghost. That's paranormal.
Well, okay.
Anyways.
Yes. Let's move on. We have more. We
do have more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the next is that when children go there to play, dead children will show up to play with them.
Okay.
Right? This is also a story. So I found a comment from a local Fox station, Fox 54 News Huntsville. So they did a story about the playground, and then there was a comment from 1 year ago from a Thomas Plouffe 1363. Thank you for your comment that said, quote, when I was visiting Huntsville when I was around 7 or 8, me and my family were at the playground for a few hours. I remember I was playing with another kid. He was around my age, had missing front teeth, and a white/tan mixed color button-up collared shirt. Dark sandy brown lace-up shoes, chocolate brown hair with blue eyes and corduroy blue shorts and black socks that went up to his knees and dark brown suspenders. We played for a few hours before we left. I asked my mom about that years later, and my mother said, quote, Thomas, that playground was empty except for you and your sister. There was no little boy there.
Wow.
Now, I mean, I'm just going to preempt this a little bit by saying when I was a kid, I would make up stories and make up friends all the time because if there weren't other kids to play with, I would make them up. But I was very aware that they were made up kids.
I never had an imaginary friend. I always wish I did, Yeah. But okay, about Thomas. So one thing that could be happening is he could be talking about a different time than his mother was talking about. And his mother misunderstood. It could just be a misunderstanding. It could be a forgetfulness. It could be something like that she was not aware that there was a kid there. She took her eyes away for a minute and there was a kid there. It could also be that his imagination was acting up and he believes it because he kept telling himself this over and over and over again. I've always said that we don't remember facts. We remember the last time that we remember that fact. So if you keep overplaying these facts over and over and over again, the story can change throughout time. And it's perfectly normal and it happens to the best of us. Even me, Rebecca. Mm-hmm. So I think this is a kid when he was a kid, I think he was just imagining somebody was there, or he's talking about a different time than his mother was. That's all.
I think the big thing is that the dress, the clothing, the important thing of that is that it's definitely not necessarily like time appropriate, that it's a little bit more old-timey clothes.
Maybe they bought their clothes from a thrift store or secondhand place or something. But you don't wear
your socks pulled up to your knees and
you
suspenders.
You do if you went to the cemetery to see some family members and then you notice that there's a swing set over there, so you go and play. I mean, I'm just saying that these can be explained. It doesn't mean that my explanation is any good, but it can explain it. So therefore, if it can explain it, I always have to side with that there is an explanation.
All right.
That means more to me than what a paranormal experience does. So I'm going to go 0 on this one as well.
I'm going to go with a 7 on this.
A
one.
7. Okay.
Yes.
9 and then 7.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, we're going to get into a few more stories here that are actually a little bit more about the cemetery.
Okay.
These are kind of like classic. These are the things people tell.
Yeah.
Okay. So one is Governor Thomas Bibb's Moonlight Carriage Ride.
Yes.
So this is definitely a favorite because it's very Southern Gothic.
Okay.
And actually reminds me of some other stories we've heard. Okay, but Thomas Bibb, and now I get this because obviously the governors have been buried here. Okay.
Yes.
So Thomas Bibb was Alabama's second governor. He died in New Orleans in 1839 and asked to
or
be,
some say Nolans, you know.
and asked to be buried at his plantation, Belmina in Limestone County. He was buried there. But not long after, his body was exhumed and moved to Maple Hill Cemetery. And the legend says he has never forgiven that relocation. On the night of a full moon, a spectral carriage drawn by white horses is said to pull up to Thomas Bibb's grave. The former governor rises, steps into the carriage, and rides through the cemetery, still trying to find his way home to Belmina. People have reported hearing hoofbeats and carriage wheels in the cemetery at night with no carriage in sight.
So, okay, I will say it's Bell Manor.
Oh, okay.
That was his property, and the property is no longer there. So it was in Limestone County, Alabama. So really interesting person. He was the second governor of Alabama, and he was buried at Maple Hill eventually. He wanted, though, and this is part that probably adds to your side there, he wanted to be buried at Bell Manor. He did not want to be buried at Maple Hill. They're not fully documented in primary sources, though, why he was moved necessarily, but he was.
Probably somebody wanted to break up the property, and they're like, we cannot have somebody buried
the second
here.
Governor of, or they wanted to give him more of a prestigious, kind of, I don't know,
Something.
But whatever it is. So the ghost carriage story has all the hallmarks of a legend that grew from a kernel of real biography. Bibb died in Huntsville in 1839 and was buried at Maple Hill. The details about him wishing to be buried at Bell Manor, whether accurately preserved or embellished over time, gave storytellers a poignant reason for restless spirit. Legends like this are culturally valuable as folklore. They are not evidence of a haunting. No first-hand account has ever been verified. No named witness, no specific date, no corroboration, and nothing has been documented in historical records about sightings of this particular thing. Whereas other times you've come to me, like I will say our first episode, Resurrection Mary, where there was a cop that actually put it in the records. Nobody's done this with this particular thing. So
I think it's just I think part of it is we have hoof beats and carriage wheels that people hear, and maybe they've connected that as this is the reason why. But it is weird. Like I'm like, how would, if this isn't true, and I'm open to it might not be, it's like, how does something like this start? It's very weird. Like why make it up?
Well, it starts from hearing that he didn't want to be buried there, that he wanted to be buried at his house.
But
and that maybe that it is possible that he was exhumed. There's not like documented evidence of that too. But that if that he was, then that already creates a story then. It doesn't mean it's based on anything, because it could be one person says it to another person that says it to another person that becomes
somebody like, you know what I think it is? Every night a carriage shows up and like he gets in the, like, it's just, I don't know.
That's just how things are.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a little weird.
We like to talk like
that. It's a little sus.
I'm going to go 0 on this one. It doesn't mean that I don't like the story. I do enjoy that story. That is kind of spooky and eerie to me, but I don't find any factual basis on it.
I'll give this one a 5.
5.
I think it's possible.
Wow, you've gone down. You went a 9, 7, 5.
I'm saying the playground.
Is the next one going to be a 3?
No.
Okay. Well, we'll find out.
All right, here we go. we're going to stay in the Bibb family.
Okay.
Mary
Bibbs.
Chambers Bibb. She's also known as the rocking chair ghost.
Oh, okay.
So we're staying in the Bibb family because, you know, they're pretty haunted. Mary Chambers Bibb, known as the rocking chair ghost. Mary made a very I'm sorry. Like, we've had some weird deathbed requests, right, that we've talked about, but she was very specific. She wanted to be buried in her wedding dress. Okay. That happens.
Yeah.
Sitting up in her rocking chair.
Oh, geez.
So the family built her, because they have the means to do this, built her a mausoleum inside Maple Hill Cemetery to honor that request. So she was buried sitting in her rocking chair in her wedding dress.
Well, she's not buried then.
Well, no, not buried, right? Put in the mausoleum. To this day, visitors say that if you stand near her
Entombed.
crypt,
That's the name.
Entombed, that's the phrase.
Yeah.
She was entombed.
It took me a second. I'm like, what do they call that?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways,
Good
go
question.
ahead.
Good remembrance.
Yeah.
To this day, visitors say that if you stand near the crypt and knock on the door, you can hear a rocking chair begin
Wow.
to creak back and forth from inside. Not slow, not random, rhythmic, like someone is answering you.
All right. Do you have to knock a certain amount of times?
I
Does it have to be a
does
certain
not
time
say.
of day or night?
Does not say.
So she's there and awake at all times, huh?
Well, she's a ghost. What else she get to do?
So I don't have anything. I did not find anything about this particular person or about her situation. I find it interesting. I wonder if the chair is still there. I wonder, because her body definitely isn't there anymore. Not that, you know, they would move it purposely or anything like that, but I mean, that's what happens. I don't want to get too gross in my explanation here.
I mean,
especially in the heat of Huntsville, I'm going to say. So the only thing I could say is that I have not seen any evidence of this. So this is not one of like the top ghost stories. I will say that it's a very interesting one, and I like the idea of that, but there's no names attributed to this. There's no pictures. There's no audio recordings. There's no videos. There's no anything that would give me any reason to believe this particular story. So I'm going to have to go 0 on this one. I would typically give this one a 1 if the person, like if there was a video and you could hear creaking then, or if I feel like I would need to be there or that I would gain something from being there. I don't think I would hear anything if I knocked on that door, which I would gladly do. Rebecca could probably attest to that I will go head first into these situations. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't get it. But no, this one, you know, I didn't find any specific, you know, like people commenting about doing this, but there is a lot out there. So I certainly probably missed it, but I'm going to give this one a 6 because I do think it's super weird. And I like, to me, if you're, I don't know, buried this way, like it just wouldn't surprise me if there's, you know, something going on with you on the inside there.
Okay.
All right. We have one more.
Okay.
I had to pick this one. I mean, again, there's so many to pick from, but you know, I had to pick the Lady in White.
Oh, there's Lady in White. Okay.
There is a long running story of a ghostly ding 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 woman in a flowing white gown who glides silently between the headstones at Maple Hill at night. Witnesses describe her appearing suddenly. She's not there, then she is, often between the older 1800s section of the cemetery. She never speaks. She doesn't talk to anybody. She just drifts through the tombstones and then disappears. Multiple paranormal teams say they've seen her and taken pictures of like orbs from the playground investigations that then, so they're taking pictures of the playground, but then in the background of the photo, like not the orbs part, but in the background of that, they claim to have captured her image. Now, there's so much on the, like, I tried very hard to find these examples of photos, but they get buried very deep among recreations of photos. So I couldn't find one that I could say for sure, like, this isn't AI, this is the original photo. But anyways, so we have a lady in white in the cemetery floating in the background of photos.
So what I will say is that this particular cemetery is great for capturing orbs.
Oh, sure.
There is a lot of orb pictures there. So when you said that, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. There's been tons of people that claim that they've taken orb pictures. And it is confirmed too, right? There are confirmed pictures that people say, yeah, those are photographs taken at the site, and they do show circular light anomalies.
Mm-hmm.
But, we've always talked about what those orbs can be. And also, too, the people that take them usually have taken hundreds of pictures. So a little bit about orbs before I talk about the particular woman. They're produced a well-documented optical effect called backscattering. All right. It's when a camera flash fires, it illuminates airborne particles. That could be dust, it could be pollen, it could be moisture droplets or insects even, that are floating very close to the lens. And because they are too close to be in focus, the camera renders each particle as a blurred circular light rather than a distinct point. The result is the glowing orb. And that's why they could look different too, is because depending upon how close the objects are together, if there's multiple objects, it could look that way. It's dramatically increased in outdoor settings at night. When walking through grass stirs up pollen and dust particles. So that's why maybe this one in particular. Higher ISO camera settings, standard in low light conditions. And a lot of times with our phones now, they automatically adjust for night photos. They automatically add that higher ISO, which is a setting, and that amplifies the effect further. Researchers have reproduced orb photographs on demand by shaking a dusty surface in front of a camera with flash enabled. A 2005 study in the Journal of the Society for Psychical Research, established through stereo photography, that the distances of orb produces particles and place them squarely in the close focus dead zone of a camera lens, exactly where backscatter occurs. There is no remaining scientific controversy on this question as far as orbs go, what they are. When it moves, it could be that the dust is moving, that the particular insect is moving, that whatever it is moving, and or that the flash is firing off, right? Flash, like speed of light, like you got to think of that. So as the camera is capturing it, it could be that the light hit it at a certain angle, or that, especially with cameras now that do the live photography, that is where we see this a lot, because the flash keeps going and the camera it's taking so many pictures at one time. That's a lot of information, but it just supports that orbs don't exist, or that aren't really supernatural. They do exist. They absolutely do exist. As far as the woman in white, if there's no pictures of it, I don't care how many paranormal teams say that they've seen her, it doesn't mean that they have. I mean, if I said that I saw a powder blue elephant with yellow polka dots and I can't prove that, does that mean that I really saw this? Maybe, but that means that I'm messed up and not the situation.
But what if multiple people were in the same place as you and also saw the same thing?
Depends on what they're there for. If we're there to see a powder blue elephant and we spent time and money doing this, especially, I was thinking about this the other day when we were talking about doing paranormal investigations where you have to stay up to 3:00 in the morning. I'd see a lot of stuff at 3:00 in the morning, especially if that means I get to leave then. I'm like, okay, well, I saw something, or it's time to go, I'm just saying that there is plausible reasons why an orb would happen and why these are paranormal investigators. That's what they're there for. So they came for that intent. But that was your last one?
Yes.
Oh, so there's a bunch more that you didn't get to. Colonel Hundley.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had to make choices. You only give me 5, by the way, folks, just so you know. I don't choose to
give
only
you 5.
do 5.
I say 3 to 5 is probably our length of time.
Just because we know it gets to be
But don't
a
make
lot.
it look like I'm the one
I'm just saying. I would have more, but I have to make choices.
Well, I mean, if you want to do a 4-hour podcast, we can.
No, it's super true. Now, I really quick though, because I felt bad. I want to go back to the Mary Chambers Bibb.
Yeah.
Because I realized, I'm like, I didn't really grab her story, which it's a quick one, but she was born in 1816 to a legislator, and she was supposed to get married to the governor's son. That's how she was connected to the Bibbs. In 1835, she was
so she wasn't an actual Bibb.
right. Well, or she was, but they gave her the name.
Yeah.
I think because or well, she might have actually gotten married, but she was.
But she wasn't born a Bibb.
No, she's not.
I
born.
mean, if you're
She
not
was
born
married.
a Bibb, though, I mean, come on.
So I think they did get married, but on her wedding day, she was accidentally poisoned by a servant.
Accidentally.
She remained alive for 3 months before passing away at the age of 19.
Oh, they must have gotten married during those 3 months then.
That's what I'm saying.
thinking.
Yeah.
Okay.
And and
19,
then
wow.
if you see her mausoleum, I don't know, this is just a picture, but it doesn't look that, I mean, it's big, but it's not that big.
Yeah.
Like it's about the width of a rocking chair. Anyways, but
I want to
nice
say
of them.
something else, but I can't because we promised no spoils.
I know. I was just going to say, like, seriously, all these stories, you guys, they definitely connect to the book.
All right. There is one that I'm going to totally blow up, but I do want to bring it up though.
Okay.
So there were children were being abducted and buried near the playground in 1960s. This is the story.
Mm-hmm.
A widely circulated version of the Dead Children's Playground legend holds that during the 1960s, which may or may not be mentioned in the book, this particular time period, a series of child abductions occurred in Huntsville. According to this legend, the children's bodies were found in the area where the playground now sits, and an unknown perpetrator was never identified. So here is some things. The legend is widely repeated on online and paranormal tourism materials, but repetition is not it doesn't prove anything just because it's repeated a lot, right? So what's not confirmed, there's no primary source documentation, no newspaper accounts, which you think there would be, no police records, which there definitely should be if there's missing children, no court filings, no named victims has ever been produced to support this claim. Multiple researchers have searched local newspaper archives and found nothing. So local historians and noted ghost authority Jacqueline Proctor Reeves, that sounds like a product, not a person, but Jacqueline, we would love to have you on the show to talk about this. She stated directly that there is no evidence that anyone has ever been buried in the immediate area of the park itself. So they claim that there's been bodies buried in the actual playground.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Hence
no,
the
this
name.
is, I did not pick that story. This is coming back to me now because I was like, yeah, there's no evidence for this, and I just have too much else to talk about.
Yeah.
So.
Well, also, too, this is what they call retroactive narrative, a story invented or embellished to explain a playground's unsettling location next to a cemetery.
And swings that go on their own and ghost kids that come and play with other kids. So.
Yeah. But anyways, the more historical grounded explanation for the playground's association with child's deaths is straightforward. Children who died in 1918 flu epidemic are buried nearby, and this is a monument to them. It's real, and the 1960s abduction story is not. So anyways, just thought I'd bring that up.
He just was excited he had that to say and didn't want to not say it.
Well, I have a lot more actually that you didn't cover.
I know. Again, I'm limited.
Well, just for time, but yeah. Okay, so.
But that's how much more evidence there is, everybody. Okay.
But that doesn't mean you vote based upon that, unless you want to. This is a silly little podcast, so you can do whatever you want. It's not like you have to do something based upon what we say.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to take a short break, and we would love for you to stick around for the aftermath. All right, so Rebecca, what would be your overall rating then for this episode that you had a lot of highs and a couple of lows in there?
I did. So I'm going to go 7.
7.
We'll go in the middle there. I mean, I almost wish Like if we could divide it, like the playground, I'd give like an 8.
Oh, okay.
The cemetery, I'd give like a 6. So we'll go with the 7 for like the whole area.
Unfortunately, the playground is a part
really is.
of the cemetery. So we have to do it as the whole.
You got to do it together. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go 0 on this one because that's what I've given.
All right.
So,
so this brings us to our closing arguments. This is our last chance to convince you to vote our way. We are each given 1 minute of uninterrupted time. And of course, we're going to time each other on the Ghostly Studio timer to keep everyone, i.e. Pat, honest.
I've never gone over. Are you ready,
doesn't mean
Rebecca?
You're not honest. Or that you're honest. All right. Yes, I'm ready. All right. So I think that the playground is haunted for sure. And I think the cemetery might be too. I think so. And in fact, I think the ghosts, if anything, are coming from the cemetery to the playground. I was shocked how many stories are out there of people that are like, oh yeah, the swings, they just move on their own and that you can tell that there's kids playing there. Or, oh yeah, I went there and I was playing with a kid and then it turned out nobody else saw the kid. And then the fact that there are so many stories, and sounds out there with the horse hoof print or hoof. Oh my goodness, I can't not say that for some reason. You can hear the horses, hear the carriages, and connecting that with some of the people that have died there. What a creepy thing, I'm sorry to say, that the poor widow or whatever, bride that died. Oh, I got lost, but there was a lot. And it's haunted. And
I gave you a couple extra seconds because you didn't hear the 3.
There wasn't a countdown, so
there wasn't.
I got
so you went
distracted.
over, but you're going over a lot now.
I know, but it's haunted, people.
Okay. You went over like 20 seconds
all right.
there.
Well, fine. You can have 20 seconds.
All right. I don't need it.
All right. Here we go.
All right. So we have a place that's been nicknamed the Dead Children's Playground. It was nicknamed that before any necessarily ghosts were ever seen. Any of these accounts have been more recent, I would say, than anything else. The name comes from that it was built for the dead children. It's not meant to be a spooky sounding name, although it is. And if you look at the cover of the book, it's very spooky. One thing we did not say is that the writer of the story didn't tell his daughter that he was writing this story, and she drew a picture of what became the cover, that it has the cemetery there, the playground there, it has everything. So anyways, there's been no proof in this episode, unfortunately, but it was a really good book. So thank you so much for listening.
Okay, so I love that you're like in the middle of your like skeptic thing. You're like, oh, but there was this really spooky thing that happened to the author of the book. All right. So, you know what? Thanks for listening to our arguments. And you know what? You can share your vote about, tell us what you think.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. In fact, if you have a ghost story that you're dying to share, you can. Ghostly has an official phone line that you could call or you can text with your spooky encounters. You could leave a voicemail, or you might even hear it on the show if you do. Mm-hmm. But also, too, you could use this to vote, like Rebecca was saying. You could just text us just yes or no. It would be great if you said yes 5 or yes 8 or no 0. That's great. But if you just text yes or no, that your vote still gets counted into the system. Mm-hmm. You don't even have to say what episode it was, because it's going to be too much for people to figure out episode numbers or names or something like that. But if you do happen to know that, put it in there. If you want to vote on an old episode, you can do that too. Just, it's not going to count towards anything, but you can let your voice be heard.
We always want to know.
We always want to know, definitely. The number that you can text or call, and I will not pick up the phone, is 312-869-9929, 312-869-9929. There's lots of nines.
Yes, 312-869-9929. You can also go to ghostlypodcast.com/polls.
Yeah, you can do that if you want to be like everybody else. But if you want to be special, you can do this where you call 312-869-9929 and just tell us what you thought of the episode.
Absolutely.
Or anything.
We love it.
like we're going to hear in this next thing, which we do have a shout out for Ghostly.
Well, we have shout outs or reviews, and this is a review.
Yeah.
That
it will be a shout out too.
It's a shout out.
So any review that you leave on Apple Podcast, no matter how many stars, and this proves it, this is a tough one for me, but this proves it. Or if you join Patreon, we will gladly shout out your name. But here we are going to let someone's voice be heard. Rebecca, can you read this 1-star review?
1-star review, the title of which is Questionable History at Best. From Emily. We'll just say that. We won't go through the whole name, but you can go see it on Apple. All right, so 1-star, host Pat needs to review his facts and also his attitude. Unpleasant and confidently wrong. There are better options out there. Sorry, I should read that nicer. Host Pat needs to review his facts and also his attitude. Unpleasant and confidently wrong. There are better options out there.
And for some people there are. I mean, I'm going to say this. I'm not for everyone.
No one is.
I would say that if we met under different circumstances and we weren't talking about paranormal, you'd probably find me to be a totally different Pat than what you hear on this podcast, only because my job here is to be the skeptic. I am not always skeptical in person. I am a pleasant person. I am very compassionate.
Damn it. I'm pleasant. Sorry.
But and I am that person that talks to everybody too. Rebecca can attest to that too. She will oftentimes be someplace and she will turn around to not find me there because I'm busy talking to somebody. One time I was sick as a dog in Walgreens and about to go get medical assistance, and somebody asked, "Are you diabetic?" And I had a 10-minute long conversation because they were trying to sell me something. So anyways, I don't need to prove that I'm nice. I'm not for everyone. Yeah. Neither is this show, unfortunately. Some people find this off-putting, and that is okay. You are allowed to feel that way.
We don't need to dwell, right? No, we are not for everyone. We're not everyone's cup of tea. But I will say, if you find that we got a fact wrong, because that's going to happen.
It is going to happen.
I mean, we do our best, but the internet, that's how it is. And, so please let us know, and we will absolutely put a correction in our next episode. So
absolutely we would.
If you go on our website, ghostlypodcast.com, there's a contact us form there. Or, of course, on any of the socials, just send us a DM with any updates that you've got out there. So
just for the record, Emily, I wish you well. I hope that you find happiness in your life, and I hope that you prosper and that you have the greatest life possible.
I highly doubt Emily is listening to this, but if she is, there you go.
I just want her to know that I want happiness for her.
I'm sure. You do. He is being. It sounds a little insincere, but you are. In fact,
I am
being
100% sincere in this regard. That I want that for everybody, but especially Emily at this moment.
All right.
And I'm not saying that sarcastically, especially for her, because I want her to find the podcast. I would recommend Southern Gothic. I would recommend,
that might be a good option.
There's a lot. What is it? Haunted America. They just had this new series called Haunted Nightmare. I listened to it. It was so good. They were talking about the devil in music and stuff like that. And they brought up so many different things, like how the devil's triad and stuff like that. They brought up so many different things. Troy Taylor did an excellent job with that. If you want a recommendation from me, I would highly recommend that. I am a listener, and even though I don't believe in ghost stories, I love hearing them.
Yes,
so
there you go.
That is a great podcast. So Emily, check that out. I think you would really like that. And Troy is a absolute great person to talk to too. We've been fortunate to have met him. So.
Yeah. All right. So we, of course, want to hear your ghost stories. You can send us your stories, of course, at the phone number of
312-869-9929.
That one. Yeah. Or you can email us at info@ghostlypodcast.com, or again, use that contact us form on ghostlypodcast.com. Or, of course, what's one of our favorite ways?
Yeah, we love getting stuff in the actual physical mail. You can send it to P.O. Box number 264, Geneva, Illinois, 60134. But just go to ghostlypodcast.com to get that address, because I don't want you pulling over your car to write it down or you heard something wrong or something like that. So just go to Ghostly Podcast before sending it out.
All right. So we got a few more things to cover. Of course, we have our favorite thing, which is the polls.
Oh, no.
That's Pat's favorite.
The gray man.
The gray man.
The Gordon Fisherman that wears all gray.
No, he doesn't look like that. In our last episode, we talked about the gray man of Powley's Island. So we had...
Oh, we called it Polly's. Were we wrong?
Polly's. Is that what I just said?
No, you said it different.
Oh.
You said...
Powley's.
Yeah.
Powley's.
You said Powley's.
Powley's.
I called it Polly's.
Pauly's Island.
Yeah, that's what I called it. So.
All right. Yes, 46.4%. Yeah. And no, 53.6%.
Oh, with an overall rating of 2.9, which is pretty much, that seems legit because it's right in there in those numbers. So sometimes that's how it goes. But if you want to make sure that you're part of that number, all you need to do is go vote. And we gave you several different ways to do it.
Yep.
But also, too, there is something that you need to keep in mind always, that you don't want to let your friends miss out on this fun, right?
Yes.
This fun that we have. You can share Ghostly with them as long as it's not Emily, because she probably wouldn't take your recommendation at this point.
Now, come on.
I'm not upset with
people.
Emily. I'm not upset with Emily. Share Ghostly with them and help us grow this community of paranormal enthusiasts. Your support means the world to us. I want to give a shout out to our VIP producers who make this all possible. We have Alicia,
Becky,
Cindy,
Kevin,
Jessica,
Alice,
and Aaron. Is it real? You be the judge. Share your verdict at ghostlypodcast.com poll section and let the debate continue. Subscribe to Ghostly now and get ready for more spine-tingling encounters with the unknown.
On our next episode of Ghostly, we'll be talking about the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in
That's
West Virginia. It is a lot to say, but oh my gosh, I started the research. It's a little crazy. And it comes out on May 20th.
Ooh, well, until then, though, stay ghostly.
Bye.